That one glorious word represents more than just the geography between the Sabine and the Rio Grande. It represents a unique idea and way of life. A life of rugged individualism, proud self-reliance, gritty toughness, and fierce independence. That is what made Texas, and that is what will save her again. Howdy, folks. Sam Houston here. I want to thank you for tuning into the Feed Bandit podcast. Feed Bandit is the Texas first outdoors brand built by rabid Texans, for rabid Texans, and all those who aim to be one someday. We unapologetically promote the ideals that shape our Texas pride and Texas first patriotism through our love of hunting, the outdoors, and the gear and apparel we create. Texas, above all else, preserve the tradition, protect the legacy. Check us out at feedbandit.com. And to repeat that great rallying cry from a former colleague of mine, liberty or death. Now, enough of my talking. Here are a couple of bandits that love Texas as much as I do. Enjoy.
Howdy, friend. Welcome back to the Feed Bandit podcast. Jimmy back with you. And on this one, I know we've been doing some other series. We've been going through a series on whitetail deer. We'll continue to do that. But seeing how it's now in January, and a major season is coming up, in 4 months or so, 3 or 4 months, that being turkey, I wanted to start a new series on learning all about turkeys. And to help us with that, I've pulled out another kind of classic book on the subject from Outdoor Life. It's called Complete Turkey Hunting. So we're going to go through this book and see what we can learn to prepare for the upcoming turkey season, which happens to be my favorite type of hunting.
Why?
But first, because turkey, Jeb, I have my son Jeb in here listening while we record this podcast, and turkey's my favorite because it forces there's a spring and fall turkey season. My favorite is the spring season.
Why?
Because you get out there in the spring when seems like the world is coming back to life. The green is coming back on the trees. The animals are getting frisky again.
And it's the weather's all good.
The weather's usually pretty good. And the turkeys are gobbling. And you gotta get full camo. And you gotta be out. Like you can be in a blind, but I like to be out, walking around, full camo, sitting under a tree, using a call. Yeah, that's right. Using a call to call a turkey in, and moving around looking for them. It's just fun. All right. So with that, first we gotta do our obligatory lesson on Texas history. Did you know in 1840 there was another attempt at creating a separatist republic from Mexico and a little bit from Texas? Have you ever heard of the Republic of the Rio Grande? No. So in 1840, Mexican Federalists declare independence at Laredo Convention. On this day in 1840, leaders of the Mexican Federalist Party met in Laredo to declare the independence of the ill-fated Republic of the Rio Grande. Since 1835, with the ascension of Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna to the presidency of Mexico, the Federalist leaders had attempted to force a return to the Constitution of 1824. The Federalists claimed the areas of Tamaulipas and Coahuila north to the Nueces and Medina rivers, respectively, and Nuevo León, Zacatecas, Durango, Chihuahua, and New Mexico. Antonio Canales Rosillo, Commander-in-Chief of the New Republic's army, took the field against centralist General Mariano Arista at Morales, Coahuila in March 1840, and was disastrously defeated. Canales, with his few remaining troops, retreated to San Antonio, while the provisional government fled to Victoria, Texas. Canales then toured Texas in an effort to raise interest and aid for the continuance of his campaign. About 140 Americans joined his army under Colonel Samuel W. Jordan, who led a successful expedition to capture Ciudad Victoria, before being forced to retreat to Texas in October. Canales capitulated at Camargo in November 1840. He was taken into the Centralist Army as an officer, and federalism was dead for the time being. So that's just an example of several of the disputes that were going down around the Rio Grande, almost the whole time that Texas was its own country, a republic. You had the dispute between where the southern border actually was between Texas and Mexico, with Mexico claiming the Nueces River, and of course Texas claiming the Rio Grande. And you had little things popping up like this Republic of the Rio Grande, trying to also separate from Mexico. So it wasn't just the Anglos in Texas that were upset with Santa Ana and what was going on there. It was also northern Mexico. And there were attempts to have the states of northern Mexico join Texas, not only in the initial rebellion in 1836, but also afterwards to form a greater republic. Of course, that never happened, but, it's interesting history nonetheless. So I hope y'all appreciated that little piece of Texas history. All right, so let's get on to learning all about turkey. All right, North American turkeys. It is said, when Noah made his voyage in biblical times, 2 of the birds on board were wild turkeys. After the big rain, Noah sent one of his sons down to the lower level of the ark to bring up the tom turkey, a fine bearded fellow. They threw the tom out into the air, and he flew away. After about an hour, he returned to the ark and flopped over exhausted. Seeing this with his son, Noah asked, "Son, now what does that mean?" "Well, Dad, there must be no land out there for that turkey to light on." They watched the turkey carefully as he recovered his strength. Then they carried him down into the hold. A couple of weeks went by, and Noah called his son again. "Go fetch me that tom turkey," he instructed. Straight away, the son brought the gobbler up. "Now fling him over the side again," Noah ordered. Noah's son chucked the bird over the water again, and watched as he flew away. After an hour, there was no sight of the turkey. After 2 hours, and finally 3 hours, Noah looked at his son and asked, "What does the bird's not coming back to the ark mean, son?" Scratching his head, the son pondered the question for some time, and then smiled as he replied, "Well, Father Noah, we must be over the U.S., and today must be the first day of turkey season." Although some may question whether turkey hunting has become popular enough to merit the official seasons during Noah's time, outdoorsmen have been hunting the turkey, Meleagris gallopavo, the largest, most intelligent upland game bird in North America, for quite a spell. Part 1. Getting started. Name and subspecies. It's not certain how turkeys receive their common name. Some people think the Indian name for the bird, which was furkey, may have changed in pronunciation to turkey. Others point to the turkey's scientific names, Meleagris, which means guinea fowl, and Gallopavo, which is derived from gallus, cock, and pavo, peafowl, to back a theory that the turkey was confused with the guinea fowl, Nanita meleagris, at one time. The guinea fowl was thought to have originated in Turkey, so the turkey came to be called a turkey. Oh, that's interesting. Did not know that. Fossil evidence shows that turkeys were present in the Western Hemisphere thousands of years before Columbus arrived, and the highly civilized Aztec Indians of Mexico farmed and raised turkeys, as did the Indians of Virginia and North Carolina, although not to the extent of the Aztecs. Authorities believed that Cortez probably took the Mexican turkey back to Spain after he explored Mexico. This Mexican subspecies was domesticated and spread across Europe, and was most likely the turkey that the early colonists brought to our shores. Today there are 6 living subspecies of North American wild turkey. They differ mainly in coloration. The eastern wild turkey is one of the largest turkeys, and biologists predict that eventually these birds will evolve to reach about 30 pounds. Their original range extended from Florida to southern Maine and Ontario, and from Texas to South Dakota. Today, the eastern wild turkey has been stocked successfully across much of the U.S. Interesting. The Merriam turkey, which has whitish tail tips like other western turkeys, is distinguished by a white patch on the rump. The original range was mainly in Colorado, New Mexico, and eastern Arizona. Today, the biggest Merriams come mostly from California, Washington, Colorado, Minnesota, New Mexico, Nebraska, and Wyoming. The Rio Grande turkey sports white tail tips and a light-colored upper tail. It was found originally, light-colored upper tail. It was found originally in Texas and northeastern Mexico, and in parts of Oklahoma and Kansas. Today, most trophy Rio Grande turkeys are bagged in Texas, Oklahoma, and California. Darker than the eastern turkey, the Florida turkey has always occurred only in Florida. However, crossbreeds between the Florida and eastern turkeys exist along a line from southern Louisiana to the extreme southeastern parts of South Carolina. These crossbreeds are intermediate in coloration. The Mexican turkey, mentioned earlier, is found only in Mexico and is the ancestor of the domestic turkey. This wild turkey originally occurred in the central part of Mexico. The Gould turkey is another subspecies found only in Mexico. It grows very large. In the 1500s, the Gould turkey was found mainly in northwestern Mexico, including the Baja Peninsula. Historical record. The population of the North American wild turkey in pre-Columbian days has been estimated at over 10 million. The native peoples utilized the wild turkey in many ways. Although we think of Indians feasting on turkeys, many tribes do not like to eat them, including the Apaches in the Southwest. And some of the eastern Indians preferred fish to turkey. But parts of the turkey were used in many ways, particularly the wing feathers for fletching arrows, and the spurs as arrow points. Cherokee children played games by making disguises from turkey skins. And according to Captain John Smith, some Indian tribes made ceremonial capes from the turkey's vibrantly colored feathers. Of course, the first American settlers ate many turkeys and often wrote about the abundance of turkeys. According to early observations by colonists, there are sometimes as many as 5,000 turkeys in a single flock. Whew. Thomas Morton wrote that the Pilgrims learned to keep a gunny in the readiness, which salutes them. A gun in the readiness, which salutes them with such a courtesy as makes them take a turn in the cook room. I love how they added E to the end of all those words. The colonists utilized the turkey's fat for cooking, the wings for fans, the meat and eggs for food, and the entrails for catfish bait. So of necessity, these settlers employed deadly tactics for taking turkeys, including shooting them from stands and over bait, double circling them, fleshing and running them with dogs and horses, shooting them on their roosts, and trapping them in trenches by baiting. Ben Franklin considered the wild turkey of such importance to the colonists that he designated it as the national bird. I happen to think, as an aside, that it should have been made the national bird. For many reasons I can get into another time. In later frontier times, hunters killed dozens of turkeys in a day to sell as food. John James Audubon noted in his writings that outdoorsmen hunted the wild turkey by imitating the hoot of the barrel owl, and the woo 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 of the horned owl, which turkeys will answer. In the early 1800s, however, wild turkeys began disappearing from the east, and by the late 1800s they are nearly gone from the Midwest. By 1920, 18 of the original home-range states had no wild turkeys. This resulted in part because most of the virgin forests had been cut for timber, and wild turkeys prefer mature or nearly mature forests without thick undergrowth, which makes them feel too vulnerable to their enemies. Yet the loss of forests was not the major problem for the turkey population. Biologists think the turkey was simply overhunted. Although some private hunting clubs and state game departments made attempts to help turkey populations, they almost always failed. Their pen-raised turkeys were unable to survive in the wild, even when they had been raised from wild eggs. Then, in the early 1940s, trap and transfer tactics were applied to aid the growth of wild turkey population. State game departments captured wild turkeys with cannon nets and relocated them in suitable habitat where there were no turkeys. At first, restoring wild turkeys was mainly an eastern concern, but in the 1950s and 60s, western states began making efforts to help the Rio Grande and Merriam turkeys. By 1975, only 12 states had no open season on wild turkeys. In 1986, with the national turkey population estimated at 2 million, only 3 states, Nevada, Delaware, and Alaska, had no open season. In some states, such as Alabama, Missouri, North Dakota, Wyoming, Arizona, and New Mexico, had almost all of their suitable range occupied by turkeys. Hunting seasons. Generally, turkeys are hunted in 2 seasons each year, fall and spring. Many states have only a spring season, while some states have both spring and fall seasons. And the tactics and reasons for hunting turkeys during these 2 times of the year are vastly different. The most traditional turkey hunting occurs during the spring gobbling season, which is the time of the year when the male bird is most vulnerable. Driven by the urge to breed, he gobbles to let the hens know where he is. In so doing, he reveals his location to the hunter. In nature, the hen goes to the gobbler to breed, but turkey hunters try to reverse nature by bringing the gobblers to them. The best technique for spring hunting is to wait where a tom wants to travel anyway. Then, by making hen calls, the hunter notifies the gobbler of the supposed hen's position. The gobbler thinks, well, since I'm moving in that direction, I may as well stop off to meet this hen. Then I'll go about my business. In springtime, this decision often proves fatal for the gobbler. Spring hunters are relying on the turkey's natural urge to breed and his machismo. But fall hunters need other techniques. During the fall, an older gobbler doesn't have sex on his mind. For the most part, he doesn't even like girls and stays away from the flocks of hens and juvenile birds. This is the reason that very few long-bearded gobblers are taken in fall by calling. The senior bronze barons harvested in the fall are often taken by other means. However, the fall is a good time to bag young gobblers, commonly called jakes. In fall, hens and juvenile birds have a need to flock together for company and protection. The juvenile birds learn from hens how to exist and escape from danger. And any time a flock of turkeys is scattered, the young birds will try to regroup with the dominant hen as soon as possible, which is why using calls like the assembly call, usually given by the dominant hen, is the most effective in the fall for jakes. When a jake comes in to the hunter, he will be looking for the older hen that has a status as mother and teacher. Flocks of older gobblers may travel together in the fall. After scattering a flock of senior toms, it is also often very difficult to call these birds into gun range. It is not nearly as productive a tactic as calling a jake back, as if to its mixed flock of hens and jakes. There are 3 reasons that some states have spring and or fall turkey seasons. They are 1. Tradition, 2. The ability of that state's Department of Conservation to educate hunters, and 3. The size of the turkey flock within that state. In some states, turkeys have been hunted only in the spring. In those states, hunter may believe that fall hunting is a mortal sin. In other parts of the country, where fall turkey hunting has been practiced for many years, hunters associate the color change in tree leaves with turkey hunting. States that have an abundance of turkeys can often have both the spring and fall season, without reducing the number of turkeys available each year. By the same reasoning, states that have large number of turkeys often have an either sex turkey season, so that the surplus hen turkeys can be called, and the turkey population can be better controlled. Essentials. Today, hunters know many intriguing facts about turkeys. They eat fruit, nuts, weeds, grasses, cultivated grains, and insects, but they favor acorns. When frightened, turkeys take a couple of fast-running steps, hop several times, and then fly to get out of gunshot range quickly. They can fly up to 55 miles an hour for short distances, but tire easily. They must have water on their range. The greatest predators of the wild turkey are the horned owl, golden eagle, bald eagle, fox, bobcat, coyote, wolf, dog, raccoon, crow, skunk, and snake. Turkeys cover 2 or 4 miles in an average day, but may cover 15 to 18 miles. And gobblers 3 years of age may have beards 8 or more inches long, but beards are not reliable indicators of age since they can wear down, and some turkeys may have 4 or 5 successive beards. Head colors. One of the perennial controversies between hunters and taxidermists is over the color of the turkey's head. When the bird is mounted, the head must be painted to restore color. So it's important that hunter and taxidermists agree on color before mounting. Many hunters believe that a turkey's head is ivory with violet coloration around the eyes and along the back and the sides of the neck, and that the throat and wattles are always red. Other hunters believe that a tom's head is red and that there may or may not be a shade of white or ivory on top of the head, but certainly no violet or blue at all. Still other hunters will swear that a turkey's head is blue with no white whatsoever and that the wattles are either red or white. And some hunters will make a case for a tricolored head of red, white, and blue. One hunter who came into my taxidermy shop continually aggravated me by advising me, "John, you still haven't learned how to paint a turkey's head correctly," I simmered. Finally, one day, this self-proclaimed head color expert and I pitted our skills against a Meleagris gallopavo in a patch of woods east of my home. Sitting side by side against a large water oak, we flipped a coin to see who would call and who would shoot. Since my friend had won, he would call and I would shoot. When a turkey first appeared, I whispered, "What color is that turkey's head?" "White, just like I told you," my friend answered. As my hunting companion gave some cutting calls, we watched the turkey's head turn traffic light red. "Psst," I whispered. "What color is that turkey's head now?" "Okay, it's red," he admitted. And as the turkey cooled off and started to walk in even closer to us, his head colors again changed. White crown, red and white head with violet mottling around the eyes, and pink, not red, wattles. I then squeezed the trigger and the gobbler tumbled. We both raced toward it. "Watch," I told my friend. As we watched, the turkey's head made 3 color changes before finally turning deep blue. It remained blue until we got home. Thus, a turkey's head is much like a chameleon's body. It can be different colors, owing to blood flow or lack of it near the surface. The head can be almost any color from purple, blue, white, and or red, depending on the gobbler's mood and possibly the time of year and the location. So now, when a hunter brings me a turkey to mount and says, be certain you paint the head right," I make sure he explains what his idea of, quote, right is. All right. That is the end of part 1 of Complete Turkey Hunting. Now, this is written by Johnny Phillips, and it was for Outdoor Life. Judging based on that first part, this is going to be a very interesting book to learn a lot about. Yeah, the whole head of the turkey thing is interesting because you'll read in different places, people have different ideas of what it means. Like, if you see the gobbler with a white head, then he's walking in because he's calm, he's confident, he's not scared. You make a call, and maybe he stops and gets kind of wary, or he's listening. It might turn maybe a little more shade of red. Then when he senses danger, then it goes all red. That's kind of, if I'm thinking about it, I believe that's what I remember, but I think I need to get out there again and remember exactly all the things that I see. I'd be curious to hear what your experience is. Do you swear by the colors and what they mean on turkey? Let us know. Shoot us an email at howdy@feedbandit.com. We'd love to hear from you. And also, I just want to remind you, go over to feedbandit.com itself, our website. Give us your email address, and you'll be put on the list to hear for releases of future podcasts, some deals we're working on through some other Texas-based small businesses in the outdoor space. And then you'll know of our official launch of our gear and apparel that we're working really hard on. And then you'll get some good deals on that stuff for sure, but only through being on our email list. So we're really excited to get that stuff out there for you and get this show on the road. It's going to be great. And I'm really excited to continue this series and some future podcasts about turkey hunting. It's going to get me fired up more and more, waiting for April to come around here in Texas. Go out there and get a good gobbler. I think this year, if I get a really good one, a trophy one, I might have to take it to the taxidermist. First time ever in my life. Never got a turkey mounted, so that would be cool. I'd love to get that done. All right, folks. Well, I hope you enjoyed this one about turkey and learning a little bit about another failed rebellion during the Republic of Texas age. I thought that was interesting. Hope you did too. So I just want to thank you for listening to this episode of the Feed Bandit podcast. We really appreciate it. And you take care. See you on the next one. And remember, support your local feed store.
Well, I hope the Bandits gave you an interesting episode that either entertained or educated you. Or better yet, both. Hell, I told them this podcasting thing looks harder to do than defeating Santa Anna. So if you would, please help them out by sharing it with all your like-minded friends to help the Bandits get the word out. And don't forget to check us out at feedbandit.com and grab some gear and apparel to support the cause of Texas. Remember, Texas, above all else, preserve the tradition, protect the legacy. Finally, as I said some time ago on the eve of the great battle, and I vigorously repeat here again, be men. Be free men, that your children may bless their father's name. Well, fellow bandit, until next time.